Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. I like Tim Pool. Am I the biggest Tim Pool fan / viewer ever? No, but I like him. I think he's pretty good at what he does. Well, all of that might change and might change quick. After this latest Timcast IRL show, I may be converted to a real Tim Pool fan. He absolutely knocked it out of the park on this one. And I mean a total home run. Tim and his team actually managed to do it. They managed to get a far-left communist type to show up on their show. We know how hard that is. And well, it was probably the perfect example as to why these leftoids generally refuse to debate. This Twitch streamer communist I'm learning goes by the name The Surfs TV. He's got a rather small channel, a rather small reach across social media. And honestly, after this performance, it's really no surprise why. Let me show you guys what happened. I mean, Tim Pool absolutely eviscerated this guy. A public humiliation, the likes of which we haven't seen in a very long time. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so it's really no surprise that these leftoids don't show up to debate. It generally ends up pretty bad. In this case, this leftoid views himself as an authority able to debate these complex social issues. Well, he was in over his head, and frankly, it probably goes beyond that. This guy was driving blind, couldn't even see the most obvious trap set ahead of him. Take a look at the headline. Tim Pool's pro-abortion guest says meth-smoking pregnant women should be reported to child services for intentionally trying to end the child's life. But it goes a little bit deeper than that. Take a look at the clip.
But I think the mother should still have the choice, ultimate authority over what happens to her body.
But there's a child inside of her body.
Hold on. What about
Yes.
meth?
Like, should she be allowed to do meth?
Yeah.
I think if someone is doing meth while they're pregnant, that it is completely acceptable for something like, I don't know what the name of the service is in the United States.
Child services?
I guess
Child
DCFS
services?
would be,
Oh,
yeah.
it's her body, though.
Yeah, it's her body.
If she wants to do meth, what's the big deal?
The big deal is that she's intentionally trying to kill a child.
Hold on there a minute.
Yeah, and I see where we're going.
I don't understand what you're saying. It's her body.
It's her
if
body.
She wants to do meth. What's the problem?
Well, first off, doing meth is illegal, period. Doesn't matter if you're doing it.
Man, this guy was not ready for the prime time. He was not ready for the spotlight. How could he not see the obvious flaw that Tim Pool was pointing out in his argument? His argument literally makes no sense. He believes that the woman has the ultimate right to make whatever decision with her own body, even if it leads to the loss of life that she is harboring in her womb. But if her method of achieving that goal is smoking a pound of meth, well then that's not allowed. Listen, bud, and this is not coming from a religious perspective at all, but you either stand by your borderline, if not totally sociopathic, satanic ethical standards 100%, or you don't. You know, in most cases, discussing philosophy, ethics, morality, there's a whole lot of nuance. The issues can be quite complex. You have to really think about all the different elements. But with this guy, there's no nuance whatsoever. It's actual cult-like behavior. And no matter how many times he gets absolutely smacked down, or his talking points get smacked down, no matter how many times he runs directly into a wall or directly into a trap, he always just reverts back to the talking point. Oh, well, I'm just a bodily autonomy absolutionist. Like in this moment.
If the baby is viable, then it's okay for the woman, even if she doesn't want to have it anymore for whatever reason, she should have to be forced to have it extracted from her and then live. Is that correct? Is that your position?
Well, it's not forcing the woman to have a baby live if the baby's already alive. You see what I'm saying? Like, you
Right,
can,
so you're okay.
Here's
So
a
we're talking about semantics. This
I got
is
a
all
compromise for you.
semantics.
I got a compromise
Sure.
for you. We'll tell the mother we killed it, but we'll sneak it off and give it to someone else. Does that work for you?
No, because I still think she should have autonomy. She should have the right to do it if she wants to. Of course.
This is semantics. This is semantics. What I said makes absolutely no sense. But this is just semantics. I'm just an absolutionist when it comes to bodily autonomy. Except for when we're talking about personal medical decisions related to, you know, the thing. Then the government should force everyone to take it, otherwise you're going to lose your job. What an absolute joke. But wait, it gets worse. He also said this.
Don't
God,
be
the
rude.
after-hours show is
If,
wild.
if you suck a trans woman's, that
It's not. No, you're sucking a woman's.
stop.
Yeah, I know.
Stop.
I'm blowing minds. Hey.
Not going to delve any deeper into that one, just needed to find an excuse to pop it in, so there it is. Take it as you will. But the Surfs guy, I'm learning his name is Lance, unironically was trying to make the argument that women should have the right, I don't get where this right comes from, to abort a viable fetus up until birth.
Colorado legalized abortion in up to 9 months with no medical reason required. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that decision, yes.
So the baby could survive on its own, and the mother is legally now allowed to just end its life.
she has the right, if she wanted to.
A total lack of basic morals, basic value for human life. But what I really find fascinating is that you have this individual who is not ready for the spotlight, who is not ready to actually debate the issues, yet seemingly so willing to die on this hill, to take such an extreme stance, and to say it with such authority. I don't want to get too much into the details. We've covered these topics before, and we have a lot of clips to get through. I really feel like I shouldn't have to explain why we shouldn't be aborting fetuses at 9 months. Anyways, let's move on. I gotta figure out a way to really distill, essentially summarize this whole debate between this Lance character and Tim Pool using very short clips, otherwise the video is gonna be like 45 minutes. So I wanna try to edit together sort of the common denominator here. The entire time throughout this entire debate, this Lance character kept getting caught up. He'd suggest something that was totally inaccurate, and instead of admitting, oh, I may be wrong there, instead of operating on a good faith basis, he would try to deflect, distract, and try to change the context to benefit his argument. You know, moments like this.
I'm not going to call it gender affirming or mutilation because I don't think those things accurately explain what it is.
Okay, so when it comes to gender affirming care, 0 to about 10.
Are you talking about child sex change?
No, I'm talking about gender affirming care.
A total refusal to step away from the propaganda and actually talk about the issue itself. Or like this example, a total refusal to admit that he may have got the stats wrong.
So hormone blockers aren't given to children until they go through puberty.
That's not true. We actually pulled this up with Destiny. He actually called me out. I was wrong about a stat.
Okay.
What we found was 47,000 cross-sex hormones. I think it was something like 17,000 puberty blockers and like 2,000 double mastectomies for girls after the age of 13 or whatever. But
so that doesn't apply to anything I just said.
Puberty blockers were preteen. Puberty blockers.
Yes, puberty blockers.
They have to because they have to give them the puberty blockers before puberty starts.
Yes, of course.
Right.
So you. Okay, so you're just reaffirming what I just said.
None of these surgeries or puberty blockers are being administered to children before puberty. Tim Pool fact checks him. Of course they're happening before puberty. Puberty blockers are generally administered, or the gender-affirming side believes that they should be administered before puberty because they view puberty as being harmful to one's dysphoria. After getting fact-checked, he says, oh, well, you're basically saying exactly what I was saying. No, he actually said the exact opposite and proved you to be wrong. Then when fact-checked on the surgery part, with the age range being 12 to 17, his reaction was, oh, well, the average age is 16. What does that mean? That literally means nothing. Then on the issue of a puberty blocker named Lupron, he got absolutely smoked by Seamus from Freedom Tunes.
My point is about drawing a false conclusion by a medical treatment being allowed under circumstance A, but not being allowed under circumstance B. You're saying we allow it for kids who have hit precocious puberty, but then we don't allow it for kids who don't want to go through puberty because they want to be a member of the opposite sex.
It's still not FDA approved. That's different.
But you understand my point. You can't claim those things are the same.
I just Google searched it real quick. Stat in 2017, 100 out of 100 with NewsGuard. Drug use to halt puberty may cause lasting health problems. More than 10,000 adverse event reports were filed with the FDA, reflecting the experience of women who've taken Lupron, describing everything from brittle bones to faulty joints.
Again, refuses to cede ground. He seems to be making an argument that the administering of a certain drug that is not FDA approved for that specific use case is actually safe because of, I don't know, reasons? It's just so hard to follow the logic because there's just a total void of logic in everything that comes out of this individual's mouth. Then there was the issue of him calling Tim Pool a conservative.
If an objective person, say an alien, just showed up and looked at your channel, Tim, and went through all the videos, and you were to ask them, poll them, is this person and his views, where would you place them? Most likely they would say conservative. That's going to be my bet.
That's actually wrong.
Yes.
If I pull up all sides with 3,770 ratings, Tim Pool is a centrist. But you think I'm conservative because you live in a bubble, right?
Just, you know, pulling stats out of his rear end. I'm sure if we polled people, everyone would agree that you're a conservative, Tim. Pretty sure everyone agrees that Tim Pool is not a conservative. I'm pretty sure that's quite clear. Tim then goes absolutely beast mode and essentially tells the guy that he thinks he's in a cult.
This is not a conservative show, but if you are in a cult, you wouldn't know that. You would only hear what the cult says.
So
here's what I think. I think you're in a cult. Right?
Okay.
I think the cult is derived from algorithms on social media.
Okay.
So you only surround yourself with this loud noise.
Oh, and I missed this base moment from earlier.
I think there is a trans genocide.
Okay.
And I think it's you.
Okay.
Because you're sterilizing a lot of these people.
Again, we're going through this stuff rapid fire cannon. I want to get through all of it, and I don't want the video to be 25-30 minutes long, so bear with me. Then they had a discussion on the death of Jordan Neely, the unfortunate chokehold situation that happened on the New York City subway, which in my opinion, I already made a video on it. I think it was totally justified, but I think this was Tim's absolute highlight of the evening. This Twitch communist, the Surfs TV guy, kept trying to ascribe malice or the intent to murder to the act of a chokehold or restraining the individual. Again, approaching the discussion with absolute bad faith tactics, and Tim absolutely hammered him on the issue. Honestly, I think it's Tim Pool's best performance I've ever seen on the podcast.
Is
Are
he
you
doing
making
what
a
he's doing?
proportionality argument, or are you making?
Yes,
an
I'm asking.
intent
Well, I'm
argument?
asking you that because is what
is
he
proportional.
did proportional to the threat? Yes. So the threat that he was going to do.
It is proportional to subdue someone that is threatening other people and saying he'll die in the process.
And end up killing him, even if that was
So see now you're doing it again. You're ascribing intent.
No, I'm not ascribing intent. I'm saying the results. This is what happened. The guy's dead. He's dead, right?
Results are immaterial to the proportionality of action.
So the proportionality of action in your mind was justified to what he was doing, his actual actions.
He held the guy on the ground while he said call 911.
and killed him. And choked him out until he died.
You're doing it again.
No, you keep saying I'm doing it again. I'm saying this is the end results. I'm not saying this is what he meant to do. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. I don't know what's in his heart. Neither do you. None of us know what he meant to do that day when he woke
absolutely.
up. Absolutely.
If someone is threatening other people, you are allowed to subdue them.
And then would it be like an involuntary manslaughter?
So see,
No, but this is what happened. It's to the point of death. So you have.
It's not a criminal.
It's not. I'm not saying he intended to kill him. That's the difference, right? But if he ended up dying as a result of that, was that proportional?
So I think that's a pretty good summation, albeit I obviously cut all the parts and it's highly edited and there might be some context missing, but to be completely honest, even in full context, it's not like it's doing the guy any favor. It was an absolute humiliation, absolute embarrassment. And I don't think that's just my bias speaking, and I'll show you what I mean by that. After the Tim Pool podcast, the Surfs TV took to Twitter and wrote, "How'd I do?" That of course got ratioed on that question. Well, if you read the first couple of comments, even his lefty cult members were slamming him. Here's one individual who's clearly on the cultural Marxist side, responding in the thread with, "I like you, but debating is not your strength. At a time of great risk, we can't afford to send out people who can be clipped. I suggest you don't do this anymore. The clout isn't more important than beating the fascists." Even the leftoids are absolutely slamming him and explicitly saying, "I suggest you don't do this anymore." And I have to admit, I think that's some pretty good advice. The second comment from Liberty Lockdown with Clint Russell, he writes, "You demonstrated perfectly why the left refuses to engage in live debates. I'd commend you for your courage, but the truth is, you were just delusional enough to believe that you could smoke Tim, which is truly hysterical. Oh, and you went low needlessly, so I'm glad you were annihilated." Here's another comment. Lance, as someone that likes your content a lot, please don't do that again. So anyways, hopefully I was able to paint the whole picture. Videos like this, especially in such a short time frame, are kind of tough to make. Hopefully it all comes together properly. This was one of the greatest public humiliation spectacles of the modern era. I had an absolute blast watching all the clips and listening to the podcast itself. Now, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Of course, you know that we'd love to have you here at the Liberal Hive Mind. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.